Yeah, can you start the streaming? Excellent. Thank you. Okay, let's give it a second for people to show up. And then we will get started. So I guess people are going to come in slowly. I'm going to start with Instagram also. If you want to connect to Instagram whilst we're doing this live, here we go, live on Instagram, live on Facebook. The advantage on Instagram is that I can actually see questions and therefore I can reply. Whereas on Facebook, I don't see if you have any questions. So I'll just be speaking to you, and then I'll take any questions later. Or you can join. They should hear me better this way. Or you can join for the masterclass that we're doing tonight at 6 p.m. Dubai time, 4 p.m. Europe time, 3 p.m. UK time. So let's jump right in. This is the final week, actually, of workshops that I'm doing with Just Be. The first week we did the workshop on, business tools. So that is when you're a freelancer or you're a small business owner. How do you run a business sustainably? Make money? How do you respect yourself? Make sure you don't burn out. Make sure that you enjoy it and your business grows so you can help more and more people. The second week was about toxic people, how to see them, avoid them, and heal from them. The third week was about managing time, money, and energy. And this last week is basically all of the coaching tools that I use. So I use many different tools. Like I come from different schools, as it were. Each of them on their own are really helpful. And if you put them together in the right way, they're incredibly complementary. And they allow us to approach pretty much any situation, understand it rationally, and also leave space for emotions. Hence, the topic today, which is rationality and emotions. Why choose? I often encounter people who pick one or the other, or they're comfortable with one or the other and not comfortable with both of them. And this usually leads to people saying, well, I'm rational, I don't understand emotions, they're messy, they scare me, and so on and so forth. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, it leads to people saying, I'm very emotional, or I'm in touch with my emotions, or I'm an empath. And usually when I hear this, not systematically, usually when I hear this, I hear someone saying, I pick one side or the other. If I'm in touch with my emotions, I don't want anything rational, or anything rational scares me because I feel like anything rational is negating my emotions or not giving me space for my emotions, something along those lines. And the truth is, like with most things, we don't have to pick one or the other. We can, there's space both for rationality and for emotions. I mean, it might seem evident, but sometimes it's good to go over what things that seem evident to us. Building a skyscraper based on emotions won't get us anywhere. But trying to rationalize with someone who's upset will not get us anywhere either. There's room for both of them if we understand the role that they play. So the role that, I mean, the way to view it is, in my opinion, is simply that rationally we can create a model which has which has space for being rational, for thinking rationally and logically, and also has space for emotions if we understand emotions and the purpose of emotions. And once we are in that emotional space, then we just accept the way things are. We don't try to rationalize them. We sometimes use the wrong tool to do the wrong thing. Using rationality to explain emotions probably is not optimal, because emotions are, by definition, irrational. Assuming that because rationality doesn't work with emotions, it doesn't work with anything, that is not optimal either. Rationality can be unbelievably helpful when it comes to, well, logic, language, creating arguments, trying to understand things. And it's important to understand the limitation of rationality. This is my sort of working hypothesis is I limit rationality where I cannot explain any further. And even with my explanations, I know that my explanations are a sorry, I'm just getting pop-ups at the same time. Rationality is a best, how should I put it, best guess to try to reach something if we can explain it. So explaining why someone is angry probably doesn't work. It's much easier to just observe, is the person angry or not? And if they are, knowing why they're angry, we don't really know. We can create a hypothesis, but what's very, very helpful here is knowing when to suspend judgment and suspend explanations. There's an idea in ancient skeptic philosophy, which I like using. I think it's a mind-blowingly brilliant approach, which is that we try to identify dogma, and when there is dogma, well, we can show that it's dogmatic, so it's asserting the non-evident. It's trying to rationalize something that can't be rationalized. And then what we do is we don't counter-argue, we suspend our judgment. So suspending the judgment means saying, well, I don't know. I don't know. Why is this person angry? I don't know why the person is angry. Why is the person sad? I don't know. I can see how they rationalize it. I don't know if it's true. And actually, if it's true or not, what does it really change? Maybe nothing, maybe a lot. But explaining why someone is sad, that can calm the mind a bit, which is helpful. It's helpful to calm the mind a little bit. But it doesn't solve all of the problems and doesn't really change anything. So I tend to take this example of the burning frying pan. So if you have your hand on a burning frying pan, you feel pain. You can rationalize why the hand is there. That doesn't change your pain. You can rationalize why you leave it there, why someone put your hand there, that your parents taught, or that, let's say, your partner was taught by their parents that they should be putting hands on burning frying pans and so on and so forth. It doesn't change your pain. So the only question is, well, what are you going to do about it? This is where having some form of understanding of emotions is helpful, or physical pain in this case, understanding the fear. So if someone says, well, I'm afraid I'll remove it, we can say, well, that's illogical. But that doesn't change anything. That doesn't help anyone. Someone being illogical, telling them that they're being illogical, that probably won't change anything for them. It won't be particularly helpful for them. So to say, well, you're doing something illogical, so what? You're still doing it. So saying it's a stupid thing to do doesn't help. Just pointing out, observing, suspending judgment, observing. That's what we do with emotions. We observe emotions. And if someone is angry or sad or fearful, they are angry or they are sad or they are fearful. Rationalizing that it makes no sense doesn't change anything. That's about the same as saying, the tree in front of my window, should it be there? I can rationalize why it's there. It doesn't change the fact that it is there. If I don't like it, it doesn't change the fact I don't like it. If I do like it, it doesn't change the fact I do like it. If I do something about it, there will be different consequences. If I cut it down, I might have some firewood, but I won't have any apples, but also have a nice view. And if I leave it there, then maybe I can move my desk, work in another room, change flats, and so on. There are multiple options. So understanding the purpose of rationality and also its limitations, and understanding the purpose of emotions and also their limitations is incredibly helpful. Nowadays, we see many people thinking, if I'm angry about something, especially something political, it must mean that I'm right. And then the debates just go haywire. My approach there is going, well, you're angry about something, so you're angry. It doesn't mean that actually debating whether the anger is justified or not is irrelevant. You feel anger, so we can try to understand, why do you feel anger? What are you angry about? As opposed to thinking, if I'm angry, it means I'm right and the other person is wrong. That just is not the case, because they can also be angry. So who is right? The person who's the most angry? Well, that's hardly a healthy basis for living in a civilized society, keeping friends, keeping family members. Two people can be angry at each other, and from their point of view, of course, they're right. But what about the other person's point of view? What about the empathy? What about understanding? What about the possibility that someone says, I can see why you're angry. I get it. Because you're angry because this and that, I can see why. Can you see why I am angry? And then when both people can say, well, okay, we both have a point from our points of view, so what can we do about it? That's how we start integrating rationality. Rationality helps us understand how important emotions are, how they function, and use them for a greater purpose. Otherwise, we're just swayed by emotions, feelings of anger, sadness, fear. We're swayed by resentment that guides us through our life. And like Carl Jung said, until we make the unconscious conscious, the unconscious determines our life, and we call that fate. And that's not a great place to be in. It's much more helpful and healthy to understand how to use the emotions, harness the emotions, and give them the space that they need without them overpowering the rest of our life. Because if we do that, then we're basically the slave of emotions. That's not a great place to be in. And they have a place, of course, and they rationally have a place. That is interesting. When we focus on rationality, we can say, I shouldn't be angry about this. That's irrelevant. Are you angry? If you are, then you are. Saying you shouldn't is not particularly helpful. So, Brett, going back to different models of psychology that I put together in my approach, which is what this week's workshop is all about. I'll be explaining the full model that I use. I combine different schools. So one school is systemic psychology. That's very rational. It gives us a very objective point of view. I combine that with Dr. Paul Ekman's work on emotions. So if you're not familiar with Dr. Paul Ekman, he was the scientific advisor behind the film Inside Out. He was also the inspiration of the TV show Lie to Me. And he was also is because he's still alive, fortunately. He's a good friend of the Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama asked him to create a website to explain emotions, and that's called atlasofemotions.org. And it's such a beautiful website. I get emotional when I go to the website, when I see how they describe emotions, the emotion, the function, the intensity, how it works. And it's a beautiful way to rationalize it and understand it and welcome it. And when we calm the mind down, it's much easier to feel. So we don't have to choose one or the other, being only emotional or only rational. We can give space to the emotion and feel it. And rationally, we understand the space it has. They all have functions. To me, emotions actually are like the dashboard of a car. It isn't because we don't want to see that we're running low on gas, that we're not running low on gas. And if we don't see we're running low on gas, then we're probably going to have a rather unpleasant surprise. So taking the emotions into account is fundamental. If we don't do it, we're missing out on so much information about how we react to situations, and also information about how maybe we are lying to ourselves, maybe how other people are lying to us. It happens much more often than we think. And if we don't have the information with us, if we don't understand emotions, we can't use lie detection. We can't understand when we are lying to ourselves, when we are deceiving ourselves, and therefore we can't make good decisions. Good decisions are a combination of two things, according to systemic psychology. On the one hand, it's how clearly do I think? And that is removing cognitive biases. How clearly do I think? On the other hand is, what am I doing with the information that's given to me, and is the information polluted? If people are lying to me, it's polluted information. So if someone is lying to me, I'd like to know about it so I don't make decisions based on polluted information. But then another part is, how do we feel about it? To only rationalize things is not a great way to navigate life. We can do it. We can say, well, here, I'll give you an example. I had a client who was offered a new job. And I asked this person, how do you feel about the new job? And I saw this, it wasn't even a micro expression, it was a macro expression. The person going, well, it's a great opportunity. And the face was sinking and I could see sadness. I said, okay, I'm sure it's a great opportunity. How do you feel about it? And the person again goes, well, the compensation is great. It would be foolish of me to turn it down. And I could see again sadness and fear. And so we dig a bit deeper. And it turned out that the person loved their current job, that they were not having a very good feeling with the new team. They were rationalizing that the new job was a good opportunity because it paid much better than the previous one. But they didn't really want to leave the team. They didn't really want to take a risk of having a new employer, and they were sort of balancing out happiness and fulfillment because they like the current job with the extra compensation of a more boring job. And what it turned out was that they actually would have preferred to keep the existing job, provided it paid more. So we put together a strategy to request a pay increase, which worked, fortunately. But without this taking into account of emotions, of course it would have made sense. Yeah, the new job pays more, go for it. But the emotions were telling this person, you're afraid that you're making the wrong decision, and you're afraid of changing, and you're actually sad that you might be leaving your current job. So that rationality has its place because it helps weigh different options. But if we only weigh things rationally, we're losing out on a lot of information. So we'll be talking a bit more about these topics this afternoon at 6 p.m. Dubai time, 4 p.m. European time, 3 p.m. UK time. And that would be, I think, 10 a.m. East Coast time in the US. But you'll work it out. So we've got a free masterclass this afternoon. And then we have the full workshop. First half day is on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Dubai time from 6 to 9 p.m. And then on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Dubai time. And we are once again doing the special pricing where you can either do one half day at a time, and that's the regular price. So that's 600 dirham for the first half day and 600 for the second. Or if you consider that this will be a good investment of your time and money, then you can get the full day for 900 dirham. Like usual, I'm recording these sessions. They'll be available afterwards. If this is not the right time for you to invest, they'll be available afterwards, and then you can watch this. And like I said, the topic of this workshop is explaining the full method I'm using that combines many different approaches: systemic psychology, emotions, positive psychology, and far more. The goal is that you can use all of this with a comprehensive model, 360-degree model, that you can use in order to coach yourself, largely, in order to coach others. So when people come and ask you for advice, that first of all, you stop giving advice, but also that you can actually give helpful tools to help the person make optimal decisions. And this is also really helpful to avoid getting manipulated by other people, to avoid getting dragged into situations, to simply understand better how people are functioning and accept reality much more, just the way things are. And part of reality is what we feel. And once we can accept that we feel a certain way, instead of arguing with ourselves, and just accept it, we can start dealing with reality. Otherwise, we're just dealing with thoughts, with ideas that don't necessarily have a big resemblance with reality. So yeah, my goal is that you can deal with reality better for your own benefit, for the benefit of others, and thereby become more independent, more adult in your life, take more responsibility for your life, not feel the need to ask for other people's approval, recommendations, advice, and all of that, that you actually have a full structure with which to run your life better, whichever way better is for you. So yeah, I'm combining pretty much everything I've learned in multiple courses, just breaking it down into a model that works, that is coherent, tangible. Then you can go deeper with whatever you want. You can go much deeper with whatever you want. In this case, you should have very, very solid basics to deal with a huge percentage of situations you find yourself in. And yeah, so this might be interesting for people who are interested in psychology, who are interested in the place of emotions and rationality, who are looking for one system that covers enough situations for them. Maybe you are already using systems of thinking that you like, and you feel that it happens that these are not always relevant, or they're not always helpful, or they are they're not always relevant or helpful, or something is missing. Like I mentioned with systemic psychology, Systemic psychology is incredibly helpful, and it doesn't cover everything on its own. But we can take other pieces of the puzzle, put them in together, and when you have all of the pieces of the puzzle together, that becomes really interesting. Okay, I think I'll wrap it up for now. That's been a long, short video. Thank you very much for joining. I see plenty of people have joined. And I hope to see you later today or see you during the week. And feel free to stay in touch. So my Instagram handle is at @Ribberson. So FRIBERSSON. And my website is ribberson.com. So thank you very much for joining, and I hope to see you soon. Have a great day.